Ray Ritchie, and thanks for having me on. It's quite a pleasure and quite an honour, actually.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Like I've got a backlog of people to get through to, not just in Australia but overseas, and then I got sick. So I was not just forced to isolate. I actually physically couldn't leave the house for 14 days.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to leave the house. So it was like, you take away the option. I can't even go shopping, can't even get milk, to you can't go outside. That's it. You've got to stay inside. So it's not the first time it's happened, unfortunately, but it does suck.
Yeah.
But and then I thought, I'll catch up on some podcasts, and then I couldn't do that either because I had this big red Terminator eye thing going on, and
jeez.
yeah, and it was actually it feels horrible. It looked even worse, but you think about it, it's not a big deal. I've got a bit of an eye problem, and then your doctor tells you that you could lose your eyesight, so you kind of take their advice and stay home. So,
perhaps listen when they say that.
When they say the important stuff, like take all this medication, don't go anywhere. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And for 2 weeks.
Well, I can see you now, and I can't see any evidence. So it's obviously kind of back to full health there.
I'm back to full health, and the medication's worn off, which is fantastic. Anyway, so the whole isolation. How are you coping with isolation? Like, you haven't got a small family, so
no.
You're at home. You're a drummer.
Yep.
You make noise for a living.
Been home. Well, when this whole virus thing started blowing up, we're with the cats, with the Cat Empire. We're overseas. We're in the UK, and I remember the week before we went on tour. I think it was the first weekend of March. We did WOMAD Festival.
Yeah.
And we started hearing this stuff about the virus and how it was picking up overseas and Spain and stuff, and we're like, oh man, we're supposed to be getting on a plane in a week to go and do a UK and Spain tour. And we're like, all right, okay.
And you think about the UK was hit hard.
Yeah. So, but no, it wasn't that full on then, or obviously the news hadn't sort of come out as it being too full on yet. I think it was full on, but we didn't know. So we got on the plane, all the flights were still happening, the restrictions hadn't happened yet. We went over and we did a couple of shows in London, and then it started to become apparent that maybe we can't do the rest of the tour because it's all going down in Spain. And after the UK leg, a week and a half in the UK, then a week and a half in Spain, by the time we get to that end of the week and a half in the UK, Spain's going to be in full lockdown. And even if we were allowed to go in to Spain and maybe get a show under our belt, maybe we wouldn't be able to get out and we'd be locked down. So we had to make that call. We, obviously it's really disappointing to cancel shows and stuff, but you sort of want to get home rather than be stuck over the other side of the world. So, we did a couple of. We got 4 shows in. We did the London shows, and we did Brighton and Cambridge, and then our manager back at home was really onto it. She wasn't sleeping. She was working night and day, just trying to work out, okay, what's the last show? What flights can we get on? And we pretty much got out of there after the last show and came straight home, and had to do that 14-day isolation once we were home. So very relieved to be back with the family, but then that whole weird thing of having to navigate the whole isolation rules and supposed to be not having any space with my own family and stuff in case I was sick. Kind of weird, but
it was all like I can't go play golf, but I can get a haircut.
Yeah, that's right.
I've actually said that to a few people I've been chatting to. It's like I haven't had a haircut because I haven't been able to get into my hairdresser. But I know a lot of guys in the States are like, you can't go anywhere, and their hair is getting quite, shaggy. And it's like, I can't go anywhere, but I can. He said I can go to the shooting range for 10 hours, but I can't get a haircut. Yeah. It's like he said, mate, it's weird here. We can get a haircut, but we can't go fishing on our own. I mean,
I go fishing. but you can go to the supermarket and with everyone else and
We,
be touching food items that other people are touching and stuff. But I mean, look, you got to eat, I suppose, so you need to get food. But
I was shocked. Like I've been to our local shopping centre a few times in the last week just to get. I'm in and out. At the best of times, but I'm really hurrying to get in and out. I'm like, it's like Christmas. What's going on? Like, why is it so busy? There's like you can only have a certain amount of people going to the store, but just people walking around. It's like it's not a let's go out and have fun. Let's go to the shopping centre. It's like isolation. That's what you're supposed to be doing, and you're not abiding by that. And I think Boston. I treated him to a hot dog one day just before. I think just as 1.5 social distancing came in, and he touched. I think he touched the counter, and then he actually first time ever he touched some gum, some used gum. I'm like, mate, what are you doing? Like rushing into the toilet, so I'm washing his hands and doing it. I said, right, don't touch anything. And because Boston's very little, he's walking down the aisles like this. And so I gave him his hot dog. And he's like, I don't want to touch it. I was like, you can touch it. You had gloves on or whatever. But anyway, all right. So we're all in this isolation now. We've spoken on the phone a couple of times about how, like, obviously playing and whatnot. I actually have a very fond memory the first time I saw you play drums, like for the first time ever. I think it was about 2001 Drummers Weekend. I think it might have been.
Okay, so Drummers Weekend,
Drummers Weekend.
2000, maybe,
yeah, maybe 2000, something like that.
Pretty much. Yeah, I think it's right.
And memory is not great anymore. A bit older. Not a little bit wiser, perhaps. Same. And I saw you play, and it was a phenomenal performance. I think you might be around about the mid to late 30s.
I'm 37 now.
You're 37. Well, I'm 41. So I'm like 21, 22, watching a 17-year-old kid just annihilate the crowd.
It didn't feel like that to me. I'll tell you that.
I'm sure
I was shaking out of my bones.
Oh my! Well, you did.
Playing in a room of drummers, playing in a room of a lot of drummers. People like you in there, and then all a lot of teachers and a lot of Melbourne's greatest drummers in there. There's a lot of it I hated because I can't do this.
It's really funny to say it because I've never been in that situation, but I've had drum clinics. So it's like, even if you've got 5 drummers, if you've got 10, doesn't matter. You've got people there who are there to critique you and to watch you. And I can imagine I haven't done a drum tech or a live performance the size of that, but I can imagine being, that young and doing it. Yeah, you would have been nervous. But then I think it's about 2003. I think you joined the Kalimba Empire.
Yeah, well, that's when our first album came out. It was 2003.
Hello.
Yeah, that was on that first album, and the band started in May 2001, so it's almost 20 years old.
Now you're showing your age.
Yeah, I know. That's wild. Yeah, so 2001 was where it got together. A bunch of us playing around Melbourne. What was it? So I finished high school in 2000. Yeah, it was like 6 months after finishing high school.
Because I saw you on that lovely show called Rage in a video.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why is Will in a home video on Rage? Because the volume wasn't up. And I'm like, what's going on? I've turned the volume up and it was Cat Empire. And it was a video clip to Hello. I'm thinking, why are you in this video clip? What are you doing? And then it literally did not dawn on me that you were in the band.
Yeah, okay.
and so you were like, just out of high school, played the Drummers Weekend. Now you're about to tour the world.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Like that's a big thing.
Oh, tell me about it. Like I remember Felix calling me because most of us in the band used to play in a band for a couple of years before the Cat Empire, called the Jazz Cat, and it was the piano player in Melbourne, Steve Settergreen.
Yeah.
he's always been a really great educator and loves working with younger people. And he wanted to put together a band of sort of different people from different high schools back in the late 90s. And I was lucky enough to become part of that. I think he already knew a few guys. He knew Bearger, the guitarist from Billanook College, and he knew Ross Irwin, trumpeter from Blackburn. And everyone in the Jazz Cat, there was 9 of us, went to a different school. And so Steve would watch some of the school band comps and go, how about that guy? He'd be good on percussion, or that guy would be good on trombone. And he literally threw us all in a rehearsal room once a week in the city, like when I was in year 11, I think. 99, start of year 11. And he put a few charts up, and some of that was just looking at some like Yellow Jackets charts or something like that, or something else. We could all read pretty well, I think, so we could kind of sight read it and play, and then there'd be solo sections, and it was kind of like everyone trying to muscle in and like, show each other what you can do. There was way too much playing going on, like it's over the top, like too many notes, like all the time.
When you're that age, really there's no such thing as overplaying.
Yeah, so that was fun, and we used to play at Dizzy's a lot, and that was kind of a Thursday thing for us. And the Cat Empire was sort of born out of that, because Felix played percussion in that band, but he started writing a lot of songs himself, and he started wanting to sing a lot of those songs and not be stuck behind the congas or the timbalis. So that's when he started the Cat Empire on the side, and then the Cat Empire kind of got some traction, and the Jazz Cat fizzled out a bit because there was 9 of us. It was really hard once we started going to uni to get 9 of us together.
Mate,
stuff. Like, logistically, it's kind of hard.
Look, doing my album, even getting people logistically around the world who record from their houses, even getting that organised is... it's difficult. Like, by the time I have dogs.
I can hear pitter-patter.
It's a pitter-patter. I got one under... There we go, there's Piper. You're right there, Doug. Trying to because most of the guys who are working on are in the stateside. So I do things during the day, and then I send it to them, and they will come back the following day for them, and it'll be like 4 in the morning, and my phone will ring. Yeah, answer it. It's like, in the bridge section, we're looking at doing this. I'm like, huh, what?
Well, I'm asleep.
I'm asleep, but this is their working time, so I kind of, so this.
Yeah, you got to be on.
What I thought was going to take, say 6 months, has blown out to over a year, because getting things kind of coordinated. I couldn't even imagine trying to coordinate band members in Melbourne now, or even back then. It's just impossible. Especially 9 of them. I don't even know how you even try and do that.
And I think that's something I've realised more and more since leaving school is having that structure of school is really useful. And the level of productivity you had back in high school with band rehearsals and performances, before school rehearsals, after school rehearsals.
Yeah.
All the students were in the one place. They were at the school already, so you could say, hey guys, we've got a rehearsal Friday morning, or after school rehearsal. But once school goes, and once you finish school and everyone goes and does their separate thing at uni, that structure gets sort of sucked out from under you. And suddenly you're having to kind of navigate everyone's different lives and try and do it.
And of course, everyone's doing different projects and in different...
Yeah.
And then you've got that whole... I live in Greensborough, and, 3/4 of the band lives in Frankston, so you're trying to meet half... it's just and the bigger the band, the harder it is. That's
exactly, like big bands and stuff. And, I think you got to have 2 out of 3 factors, right? What was that thing? Like, it's got to be... so there's like the hang. If the hang's good, there's the money. If the money's good, and there's the music. So if 2 out of those things are good, then you can do the gig. I hope this from someone else. But if the music's crap,
the money sucks and the hang's horrible.
Good, the hang's good and the money's good. Or if the money's crap but the hang's good and the music's good, you want to do it, right? So,
Actually, now I think about it, you've just described most wedding gigs.
Yeah.
You get that whole, it's like, the hang's good, the money's good, but the location is like abysmally far away. You're like, yeah, I can do that.
But if you can get all three, then that's awesome. If you
Yeah.
can get all three, yeah.
I like that, actually. That's really good. I never thought of it that way. So
I think, we're on a podcast now. I think I heard that from another podcast somewhere. Maybe the I'd hit that or something. Maybe years back.
I tend to listen to podcasts when I'm going for my walk or driving the car, just randomly doing something. And then I think I had one day I hit that podcast going. It was a Gary Novak.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he was like talking about the potato and his wife was sick many years ago, and then I just hear him start talking about Vinny, and it's like I just heard Vinny. He's got more hands than God, and I stopped and went, I have to now go an hour back and listen to this whole thing. I sat down and had a crank through my stereo, and I was like, that one thing got me. I'm like, you know what? He's spot on. Vinny's hand vocabulary is extraordinarily huge. But it's amazing things you hear from podcasts just in passing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if Gary Novak's saying that, and you're like, well, must be serious.
I have a very embarrassing story about Gary Novak.
Go ahead.
It's about me and Gary Novak. I went to NAMM in 2015 and 2016. I think it was in 2016. He was apparently playing at the Baked Potato, and they're like, "Oh, we'll drive in, or we'll Uber it in from Anaheim, and we'll go see him." I've never seen him play, like not since he had long hair and glasses and whatnot. So I've walked in, I sat down, or stood at the bar, and I've ordered a drink. And this guy, I've ordered a drink. This guy goes, "Oh, you're not local?" I went, "No, I'm from Australia." He said, "Oh, I've been in Australia a few times." I went, "Oh, cool. What's it like? Do you like it?" And he goes, "Yeah." Didn't say much else. I said, "Oh, what are you here to see the band tonight?" I said, "Yeah, man, Gary Novak, just like freak player, man, so good, single strokes. Like I've got like a kit he borrowed from me back in the 90s. Like I lent it to for a couple of clinics and a bit of a tour, and I didn't even twig." And he goes, "Oh man, you're gonna hang around for the show?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I can't wait to see Gary play. Like, can't wait." I'm having I think I was having an old fashioned, and he goes, "Oh, what are you drinking?" He said, "I'm having an old fashioned." He goes, "Oh yeah, I'll join you." I'm like, "Sure, no worries." So we're having a drink, and he said, "Look, I've got to go. Lovely to meet you." I'm like, "Yeah, cool, man, no worries. I'll see you around." Not thinking when you say that, "See you around," it's like I'll probably see you as I'm walking at the door, kind of thing. He literally walked behind his kit,
Oh man,
and started. I was like, I looked over at my mate, and he goes, "Yeah, I didn't tell you that was Gary." I went, "No, thank you very much." I just had a half an hour conversation with this god of drums, and you were laughing behind my back, because pretty much, I'm like, no.
And then before the gig finishes, you're like out the back door.
I said to him, "Look, I feel really bad now. I'm really sorry. I didn't recognise you, and now my dog has a squeaky toy, which is And I said, really sorry, man. I didn't recognise you. I haven't seen you play live in like 15 years, so that's all on me." And he's like, "Man, don't worry about it. You got to come back before you go back. We'll have a hang or whatever." And he ended up coming down to NAMM for a couple of hours, and we all just walked around, like.
Wow.
It's different over there. But anyway, look. Speaking of gear, I have a question to ask you.
I don't
know if you can hear that.
The dog has a question, I think, not you.
The dog has a question. You. I mean, obviously, you've touring the world. You played. I mean, you recorded in Cuba. How many drummers can say we recorded an album in Cuba? Which is brilliant. Gear-wise, what do you use, and what do you use now? Because I've seen you use anything from like vintage Luddites to Yamaha kits. Pearl. Are you just you don't stick to one brand. It's like what
it is a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. And I've never really got fully into gear. Not like a lot of people do. I'm not sure why. I guess I just haven't been as as excited to kind of delve into that whole thing. But I've definitely, there's been a few kits that I've liked over the years and enjoy playing. And yeah, as you mentioned, like a vintage Luddy. When we went to Cuba, we recorded an album there at the end of 2004, and they didn't have anything there for us, so we had to ship everything over. And it was cheaper to ship it all from London than it was from Australia.
Are you serious?
And, yeah, we had to ship it all over.
From London.
Yeah, they had the amazing studio and and the place, but we just had to bring our instruments. But we found ourselves in London earlier that year, doing some gigs, and I went to a secondhand drum store on Denmark Street where all the music stores are.
Been there,
went down, little store called Andy's Drums at the end. Memory's getting a bit hazy now, but I remember going downstairs to a basement and just heaps of old stuff, vintage stuff, kits and snare drums as far as the eye could see. It was amazing. And I remember thinking, okay, I need something to record, the album. We need something to ship over, so I'd love to get something. Ended up finding a 4-piece, kind of a Ringo Starr Ludwig super classic 1964.
Nice.
Oyster Blue, the 22, 13, 16. Yeah. Some a little bit beaten up, but maybe that just adds to the character and makes it even a bit more muted, I suppose. And the snare drum, I grabbed a 1949 Slingerland Radio King.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you went for all the terrible stuff you can get your hands on.
Yeah. I was like, what's hard to get in Australia? And I thought those two things would have been hard to get back here. So got that, then had to go to another store, a bit more of a mainstream store, and buy some cases, those pro cases, and ship them over. And so when we eventually did get to Cuba, it was all there in the cases ready, ready to go.
I have to say, because I've never been to Cuba. I'd love to go one day. I know people who are from Cuba, and they say it's like you just can't get anything over there. If you want anything, you've got to bring it over. And when I saw that, because I remember you posting, I think it was on Facebook or somewhere or Instagram, that you had recorded in Cuba, I was thinking, like, how do you even manage that? Like, logistically, it's a nightmare.
Well, it was. We almost set it up as half a joke, when we thought about it, because when we came to do the second album, we were like, "Oh, it'd be cool to do something a bit different. What can we do?" And I remember just recently that Buena Vista Social Club album came out.
Oh,
that Ry Cooder was on, and everyone was all about that. There was a cool sound, and then we're like, "Oh, okay. Well, so who recorded it, and where was it recorded?" And then we found out that it was this guy, Jerry Boys, was the engineer, and he's from London. So he lives over, maybe not London, somewhere in England. He lives over there, but he often travels to Havana, Cuba, to record a lot of Rakuda's stuff and a lot of other stuff. And he does his recording in this studio called Studio 101, which is in Havana. And it's this beautiful old wooden dance hall, wooden floors, wooden ceilings and walls, and that's where that sound, that warm, rich kind of sound, comes from in a lot of those recordings that we liked. So we called Jerry Boys and said, "Hey, talk to us about how you record in Cuba." And he's like, "Oh, well, I have a big desk shipped over there, so I've got all my stuff, from England that's taken over there, and we use it there." And he's done it so many times, he's just an old hat at it. So we actually ended up making it work. We said, "Can we do it?" And he listened to our stuff. He liked our music and said, "Let's do it." So, yeah, there was a lot of puzzle pieces that had to come together to make it happen, you know, visa wise and gear wise, and
Right, yeah.
five flights later.
I was going to say the visas alone would have been just like, I can imagine your manager going, "You want to go from London to Cuba, all of you at the same time?"
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, look, the album sounds great. It's a phenomenal album, you know. So
Yeah, it's cool. It's like I could definitely hear the room in it. Like I think there's some songs on there that are a bit more true to the natural acoustic of the room, and I think we may have got into a little trap of a few songs of trying to manipulate the sound to get it a bit more poppy or cleaner or something. But you know, that's what it's like making albums. You try stuff that you think's good at the time, and some stuff ends up really, really good, and you're happy with other stuff. You know, years later, you're like, oh, if we did that a little bit differently. But no, I think it's a good, real good timestamp of the time for us. You know?
yeah, it's actually something you just said then. Like I listen back to some of my stuff I played on for my album, and I go, oh, I can't put that out. Like I can't do it. And you kind of fall into that trap of analysis paralysis, where it's kind of starts becoming a bit of a deep dark hole where, you know, you think of a song or a track or an idea, and if you put it all together, sort of a guide track or whatever, and you give it to a couple of people, they're like, it's amazing, and you're like, no, I'm not feeling it, I can't do it. I've been finding a lot of that lately, and I was actually chatting to another local muso who said that, you know, this is how good it is for you now. Like, you know, no matter what you do now, you know, in 5, 10, 20 years or months or whatever, you're going to go back and go, well, I could have done this, I could have changed that. But right now, this is it, you know. And you can either sit on the idea or sit on that sound for weeks and go, the album could be out by now, but I'm sitting on this snare drum stand, which I'm not happy with, you know.
Yeah. And your tastes change over the years as well.
Oh, hands down. Like I remember writing a few really fusiony, like we're talking Wayne Krantz, you know, 2 Drink Minimum. You go, this makes no one's going to listen to this, you know. You have to be, you know, 3 stars to the wind after a couple of, you know, scotches.
Hey, I like that. I like that Wayne Krantz album, Long to Be Loose.
Oh, dude, it's phenomenal. Because that album, and then you listen to 2 Drink Minimum. And it's just like, man, I'm gonna do an album like this. And then you finally you put stuff together and you listen back to it and go, no one's gonna buy it. No, you know, I don't think I'd buy it. So I actually went. I wouldn't say fusion. It went really kind of almost Virgil-esque, like you know, feet, hands. Practice 8 hours a day before I had, you know, obviously a wife and a child. And then, you know, I started listening to, like, you know, a lot of groove, hip hop, just really bringing it back. And I had a really good encounter with Steve Gadd overseas, and he said, man.
Steve Gadd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just said, he actually said to me, I said, I'm doing this, you know, I'm like, I'm a big hero, you know, you're a hero of mine, and whatever. I'm working on my album, but I'm now finding my taste changing. And he said, man, whatever makes people's bounce in the crowd, and that's when you've got it. That's when you're on the right thing. I went, yeah, he's right, you know. And most of my work I do, fill-in wise and studio wise, is all about groove. So So now my album, you know, I've got 12 tracks, and I'm only going to put 10 on there. It's all just groove stuff with one really kind of feet-like thing, and it actually stands out like complete dog's balls. It's
stands out like dog treats.
Oh, mate, it's like you listen to the tracks and go, yeah, I mean, I'm getting into this, and you hear this foot-hand fusion thing going on. It's like it just really does not fit in. But I kind of figured I had to put at least something like that in the album to just. Yeah. I'm not a serious person. I make fun of myself and my musical taste all the time, and it's even the album. It's not serious at all. Like, you know, it's just I'm now just doing something because I want to do something. So But how do you guys approach songwriting? Like, where's the drumming element coming to it? Because, you're a really, I mean, besides technical, you're a really fat groove.
Oh, thanks, man. Look, a lot of it's Felix and Harry. Both singers in the band. They can both play a lot of instruments. Starting with Felix, like he played. Your dog wants to say.
Come here, get your toy. Get your toy. This is. Come here. That's not even your toy, it's Anderson's.
Check it out. I'm being shown a really colourful toy there. Yeah, I want to play it. But Felix in high school, he played drums, like in the school stage band, so he could play quite well. And a lot of his songwriting, and he can play piano really well and sing. So he's very rhythmical when he writes songs and plays piano. He's got a very strong rhythm. So it's quite obvious what he wants. And his thing kind of growing up, he loved like Cuban stuff, and he loved the Chili Peppers and Rage Against the Machine and lots of sort of stuff like that. So you sort of end up with this, kind of like big backbeats and stuff, but also having like a Latin flavour or something to it, I suppose. And that was a lot of his influence, kind of where it kind of drove me for the drum parts and stuff. And Harry too. I mean, Harry can sing and play trumpet and play guitar and piano, and they both sort of know what they want, and they can sing drum parts at you pretty well. But having said that, we can still take it somewhere if we want, somewhere else. But the band's always been about having that jazz element of the improv and the spontaneity. I can't even talk. Sorry, but being danceable as well, kind of like a groove thing as well. When you're playing, people can dance who are in the audience. It's not just a sit down thing, or it's not just a headbanging thing. So I guess it's been around that kind of thing, and then over the years it's kind of dipped in and out of that with different albums and different things that we've wanted to do.
You don't have the announcement before you start a song. It's like this is a new song. It's in 7/4. Good luck.
Yeah,
to the crowd,
It's never really like that. Ollie, Ryan, and I, the rhythm section, we started a band called the Genie back in like the mid 2000s because we were doing so many Cat Empire gigs, like 100 a year or something. We wanted to play some other stuff, so we're like, okay, let's start the Genie, and we can play whatever we're not allowed to play in the Cat Empire.
It's like right, second bass drum's coming out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, I know what you mean. It's like I played in I was doing so many wedding and corporate gigs and cover gigs, and there's a big part of it. It's work, it just becomes work. It's what you do. And there was one gig where I was able to sit down with some big name Melbourne musos, and it's just like, they're like, hey, we're just gonna have some fun tonight. It was a good payer, good location, great hang, had everything, and these guys were just brilliantly funny. And they would just say, hey, in the middle of the song, let's chuck in a bar of 9.
Hey, you were?
No, they were. I'm sitting going,
oh, they were. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think Canned Heat has a 9 in it somewhere, and they're like, no, we'll just do it. We'll count at 9, and then we'll come back, so we'll count it as, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So I'll do.
See how the dance floor goes with that.
Oh, and that's the idea. They wanted to throw them off. So here we are. I'm like, all right, we'll do this. It's because they're all like, mate, we've been gigging. They gig 397 days a year. It's just like they're non-stop, and they're like, let's have some fun tonight. So here's the dance floor dancing, and this bar of 9 out of nowhere, just. And every so often the music director will turn around and go, let's do it again.
Everyone freezes on the dance floor.
Everyone's doing this and and then eventually they're going to get back into the rhythm of it all, and they're like, and it was like, I kind of felt that night. It's like, I have been playing so many other people's music and ideas. I don't have any of my own anymore. And that night, I actually decided that's it. I'm doing an album, and that was 5 years ago. So I'm a bit slow, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there eventually.
Yes.
But yeah, so you had your own kind of band back in 2005, the Genie.
Yeah, the Genie. Yeah, and that was when we all lived in Melbourne. But probably when was it? Between 5-10 years ago, Ollie moved to Sydney, the keyboardist, which made it a lot harder to do Genie gigs. So
and those 9-piece rehearsals are really hard to get together.
Yeah, well, it was easier, being a trio the Genie was kind of nice and easy, but yeah, not when your keyboardist is in Sydney. But look, but with the Cats, like we still have a lot of freedom. Like we can do a lot of stuff. It's not, it might sound like I'm saying it's quite restrictive. It's just that, you know what it's like. You play any style of music for long enough, you want to do some other stuff. But,
you want to change the flavour.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've been getting back into practice more than I have in years and years. Had kids.
That's another thing.
Having kids.
Yeah, it's like you have these little humans, and then suddenly you've got to look after them. Like they don't feed themselves. We try to. I have to. Boston is 6 now, so he's actually semi-autonomous in some things. But yeah, it's like those, and you've got 4.
Yeah. So I mean, I've spent sort of better part of the 10 years, running around with them. But that's kind of by choice. So I've really enjoyed that family time. But it's meant that I haven't been able to dedicate practice time as much. And with this virus and the home lockdown thing, it's been really good to it's almost like a bit of a reset for me I've pulled out all my old material, learning material from stuff from teachers that I had back in high school in the 2000s.
Who did you have back in the day?
The first teacher was in primary school, Michael Barker. Maybe not the Michael Barker you might be thinking of. Not the Michael Barker who played with John Butler Trio.
That's the one I'm thinking. That's what, as soon as it popped in my head, was that.
Yeah. No, different Michael Barker. He was teaching a lot at Carey. He plays really good percussion and kit, tune percussion as well, and he lives in Ballarat now. But he came to my house for a couple of years when I was in primary school, and then in high school, Paul Matcott was the teacher there. Paul.
Oh, Paul, yeah.
Yeah, and then towards the end, I think it was Paul's recommendation. Once I was about to start year 11, he said, "Why don't you go get some lessons from Darren?" I was like, that's a great idea. And I started discovering Darren. I watched Darren play a lot without really realising who he was.
Who this is like who doesn't know Darren Ferrugia? I mean, not just because of even people who aren't musicians. You say, I get lessons from Darren Ferrugia, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Sato." Even just random people, they just know. I even refer people. So look, back when I can't, like I'm in Cranbourne East now, and they're over in Reservoir Coburg way. I'm like, go to Drum Tech or give Darren Ferrugia a call. I was like, oh, what's he used to play on? Because apart from the fact he teaches VCA and he's a brilliant teacher and a fantastic player, but he was on Hey Hey Sato. Oh my god, I remember him. I used to watch the band all the time as a kid. And you're like, yeah, now they want to take their son to get drum lessons. So I mean, who doesn't know Darren? It's like he literally is a Melbourne institution of a drummer.
Yeah, totally. And I really enjoyed his lessons. I think I had fortnightly lessons on a Tuesday night from 6 till 7 for 2.5 years.
Drum Tech?
Yeah.
So I think I was Mondays from I think 8 till 9.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my dad used to drive us from Cheltenham to Drum Tech, once a fortnight. I even felt like, I'm not kidding you, I don't know where it is. I found the box of receipts, like drum lessons,
really?
$40 an hour. I'm like, I'm killed.
Yeah, that's right.
I would kill I'll just go, like, if I could pay $40 an hour of a lesson with Darren, you know, it's like, give me a DeLorean, let me go back to 88, go back to 2001 kind of thing.
Crazy. Yeah, my mum used to pick me up from big band, stage band rehearsal after school at whatever 5:30 had finished, and take me straight to Northcote with a Milo in the car. Yeah.
Nice.
It was great.
That perk of low GI energy to kick you off.
Yeah.
Oh man,
no, I enjoyed his lessons. Like Paul Matcott was really good for it. Through high school, he just exposed me to a lot of material, a lot of stuff, a lot of bands. But Darren was really good at looking in really fine detail at the hands and control. One of the best exercises Darren ever showed me, it's one I've never stopped doing, is these 4-bar vamps doing full strokes, and just getting the practice pad and throwing the stick down and letting it come up completely to the vertical is just the best warm-up I've ever had. It's so good.
And the stretch as well, where you turn it around
above
the head. Yeah, same. Yeah. And it's really funny because you don't think, when you're a kid, you don't think about like, geometry, I'm going to use this. Recorder lessons, I'm going to use this every day of my life,
Yeah.
I found with Darren's lessons, like any of those cats back then, like Gia Pentarsis, Justin Humphreys, they all had their own flavour, their own methods, and they had their own ideas. And I've taught them to my students over the years as well. Even just the other day, someone was asking me about like just a quick warm up. I said, mate, I've got a short and a kind of a medium length paradiddle solos that my teacher taught me back in 1997. I think, and I still got them in the original Drum Tech manuscript book. I know them off by heart. I write them out, and every time I write them out, I say, courtesy of Darren Ferrugia, because he wrote them out on the spot. He goes, it's right. Great inversion, going for alternate sticking between the left and the right, reverse parallel, double parallel, inward, outward, and comes back on the one, and you start the exercise again. I'm like, not off by heart. And just the other night, he texted me and went, man, I've got this down by memory, and it's the greatest thing I've ever learned. And I went, mate, send Darren a message on Facebook and say thank you to him, because it was all him.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And, I've never spoken to this about anyone, but it's so, when he wrote out his stuff, it was so neat. I can't make it that neat. Crazy.
He would write it, and I look at it back now and go, Sibelius isn't as neat as that.
I know, it's wild.
Hey, look, I was going through just the other night, there was this alternate Swiss triplet sticking exercise, and I was like, I can't remember if it was, I couldn't remember if it was a right, left, back to the right, and I had to go back, and I'm looking at it going, and Tara, my wife, goes, who wrote that? I went, Darren Ferrugia. Goes, how? Because it's just written. It's like, but he would spend, and that was what I liked about Darren, is that you do your revision, like the first, say, 10 minutes of the lesson, and then you work on something for about half an hour to 40 minutes, and then he'd sit there as you're practicing your new lesson, and he'd write it out, and would take a page, and you're like, you're thinking, I've got 2 weeks, I've got heaps of time, and then after a couple of days, you realise, I don't have enough time.
But he'd still be listening to you when you were practicing. While he was writing, he could still listen, and
he would catch up. Like, you should have gone to the left hand, alternate sticking it, and you missed out on it. I'm like, you've been like this the entire time, and you picked up on it. And Darren taught me a lot, not just about drumming and music, but just about paying attention as a teacher and defining listening skills.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there's Darren, and then aside from that, they've been my main teachers. But I've just had some random lessons, from Graham Morgan, Tony Floyd.
Tony Floyd.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Yeah, just feel for days.
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah. There's also the man who's like, here's a coffee, and you go, I want to give you a hug. He's just so nice.
Yeah. Those lots of fun. And then here we are. I'm pulling out all this material that I've got over the years I found it quite overwhelming how much stuff I got. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to practice because there's so much stuff here. I really need to focus on something. And so I've kind of tried to organize it all and categorize it and just get all the loose sheets and stuff, put it in folders, and just now I kind of just pull something off the shelf and put it up on the stand and go, okay, let's work on this. And I'm starting to get back into that, which is long overdue. And
yeah, I know the feeling.
Kind of therapeutic as well. Yeah,
it's something that I've it's kind of comes up on my mind every so often. I buy a book, and I'm old school. I like to actually have a book, we're talking about mixing consoles. You want to have knobs and faders, So
it's easier on your eyes than a screen as well.
It's not just that, like you print it out and it's like this guy, and I always lose
the real thing.
Yeah, the real thing. And I would buy books, even Chad Smith's Chili Peppers book. I'd buy things like that, and I wouldn't buy it just for the entire page. Here we go. He's going to the big bed. Just for like an exercise or a chapter or whatever. And I had this chat with Darren actually because he had we did a podcast, a couple of years ago, and he had a shelf of just books, and I said, man, the first thing you say is like, have you read all these? When you see a library, it's like, I guess I buy a book just for a chapter or a page or an idea. So I'm not alone, Yeah, like I bought Dave DiCenzo's book, his 2 books, just for a certain group of exercises he goes through. And I was chatting to him about it. I said, man, I want the whole book, but just this one chapter's really just got me intrigued. And he's like, I'll just send you that chapter. I said, no, man, I got to have the book. It's the book itself, and it supports you as an artist as well. So I ordered them 2 months ago. They haven't arrived yet because the whole isolation thing. So anyway, but I'm the same, man. I grab out books and like random loose sheets just come out, like John Corniola. Like I went through Boxer College of Music with John, and
John's awesome.
Man, if you feel bad about your playing. And this is as a general, I found this. You feel bad about your playing, you need some really big improvements or whatever, just give John Corniola a call. He'll make you feel not only good about yourself, but he'll kick your ass into submission. And you one lesson, you walk out going, I feel so much better. I feel I'm playing better or like instantly. And I got lessons off here from about a year and a half with Tony Floyd as well. I was really lucky at Box at the time. But at the same time, I was getting lessons from Darren, Justin Humphreys, Robbie Parolin. So I had a student. I literally had no money. It was going on fuel and drum lessons. And that was solid for 3 years. And I'm thinking, I'm going to conquer the world. And once I finished school and I got out of college, the first week of playing music live as a career was 5 jazz gigs in a restaurant. And I was semi-prepared from John. No Island Magic or Steve Gadd Crazy Army solo was, jazz standards for $100 and a bottle of wine and a meal.
Stirring the soup on the snare.
Mate, yeah. That was my life for about 2 years after school. Anyway, so now
but going back to the music learning material stuff. Like Paul Macott would give me a whole lot of stuff, and that was one of the enjoyable things over the years of actually discovering what all his stuff was that he gave me and what books they came from. Because he'd give me a whole lot of loose sheets, but these really cool exercises. And sometimes, the photocopier was a bit, the copy wasn't great, or the sheet wasn't aligned on the copier, so you'd miss out on a page number or the name of the book. So
it's been photocopied so many times.
So where does this come from? I want to find out. And then over the years, I kind of learned, that's from this Gary Chaffee book, or this is from All American Drummer, or this is from Syncopation, and all that. So that's been really cool. So that's when I started going out and buying all those books, so I could, just have the original.
Have the book, and when it was semi-affordable to do so.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I have to say that's probably the one thing I think about. Back when you're a kid, where 250, $300 would get you a nice set of Zildjian hats. Now you drop $1,000. It's like
It's wild.
gig money hasn't increased that much.
No.
So that's. I mean, I always look. Hey, I digress. As I said, if you had time machine, we'd probably use them.
Expensive sheets of metal. Yeah.
Yeah. So now with isolation, what are you doing?
Today I was recording. We're trying to do a couple of little recordings with the Cat Empire.
Yep.
Like us, like a lot of bands and musicians, everything got, cut off instantly. No gigs, nothing. So,
how did you? Well, sorry to interrupt. How did you find that? I mean, it is called an isocast and everyone's isolated. But how did you cope with going from being, this is my living, this is my main bread and butter, to literally someone flicking a switch and going, that's it, you're done, and it may not come back for up to 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, it probably, had this happened more than 10 years ago, it probably would have been way more of a shock to my lifestyle. But so like these days, we typically would do 2 or 3 big tours a year, and they'd be like a month each.
Yep.
So we actually have, over the past few years, we've had quite a bit of downtime between touring. So everyone in the band does other stuff as well. So what
do you do in your downtime apart from having, a family?
I work as an architectural draftsperson as well, and I've been working for a company called ELC, Architecture and Interiors. It's a small team, and I've been working with them for almost 3 years. And so I do that, and they're very good. They're very flexible with the band, which is really good. They're very understanding. Cool. And when because drawing and construction, it's another kind of passion of mine. It always has been.
Hey, maybe you can come and have a look at our house. That's not a dig at the people who built it. I'm just saying, it's just we've got some issues.
But we might get stuck on practice pads, like playing exercises and stuff, though.
Mate, I'm happy that that's good coffee, some green tea, or and I know you're. I think the last time I saw we caught up with Danny Ferrugia. You're an avid baker.
Oh my gosh! So Danny,
not to throw anyone under the table in this one, but I to me, as soon as someone says I make bread and I eat it, and I go, this is a complete mystery, because I know if I try and make bread, it will explode.
Yeah, that's been a mystery to me for my life as well. But Danny's the avid baker, Danny Ferrugia, and he's been doing it for a while. He's got it down pat. He can make an amazing sourdough loaf or flatbread. But he very kindly dropped around a jar of leaven, which is the sourdough starter.
You can't. He drove with that in the car with that much noise. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dude, that's no.
And he said, "Here you go," and he had a loaf for me. He's like, "I made this, and here you go. You can make your own. Here's the leaven. Here's the instructions." And he left it for me, and I was really excited. And the bread tasted amazing. So, it's a live thing. The culture, so you got to look after it and pamper it and feed it. And I did something. I don't know what I did, but I ended up killing it. He said to me, "Oh, look, it's okay." He said, "Don't worry if you kill it, because I've got my leave in a few different households around Melbourne, so I can always get more." But I don't know what I did, but I was so annoyed at myself, and I felt really bad for Danny that I, killed the leaving that he gave me. I spent hours online just trying to work out the best way to start my own. So I made my own leaven. It took about 8 days for it to sort of become alive, and that was over a month ago now. So I've been making some bread for about a month. And
I think and you've got an added challenge. You've got 4 kids in the house.
Yeah. That kicks me up the arse to do it, because there's 4 hungry little mouths who want food all the time.
It's like, it's
Okay.
like, shh,
Yeah.
I've got to leave it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because every time anyone's ever spoken about sourdough, I imagine that, I don't know if you have seen, Eddie Murphy's Beverly Hills Cop 2, where he's carrying it.
Oh, it's been a while, but
Yeah, he's carrying a bag of pretend like plutonium base. He's carrying it like, I imagine like people who have got leaving, and I've seen it in the house, like, hey man, just give me a second, and they pick it up and they just gingerly walk to a bedroom and just put it down. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, mate's leaving. What's leaving? And they explain it to me. I'm like, no, man, I'd kill it within an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like families hold on to them for generations.
Yeah.
Like you look in Spain and France, Italy and stuff. There's ones that are have been through 3 generations. So you wouldn't want to kill that one.
No, and you know what? I'd walk in there. I'm like, come over for dinner. It's like I walk in the door. You're leaving. 327-year-old leaving dead. Just make too much noise. It's gone. It's done. I'm sorry, I've ruined your family history here.
But back to your question. So when this all stopped, it was a shock, and I think it's going to be a bit of delayed shock in terms of sort of not knowing when we can get back and play gigs.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of like, oh, look, it'll be okay. Gigs will come back, but by the time it does come back, I would have gone, wow, this feels really foreign, alien. It's been too long. So, I think as time goes on, it'll feel weirder and weirder not doing a gig. But at the same, in saying that, I've been really busy at home. Like we've had all the kids at home. We've been trying to homeschool them, and wife and I trying to work from home with our other jobs. And
how's the homeschooling going? Like,
well, I'm happy to say that it's done now. So, the twins, who are the youngest, they go back to prep next week. It had its moments. It was kind of fun, and then it wasn't fun, and then it was fun, then it wasn't. But hats off to the teachers. A new respect for teachers, because
I think teachers at the end of this
year, patience. The patience involved.
They're going to get
huge,
big presents at the end of this year. Every teacher.
I reckon.
I look. We had Boston. He was homeschooled for maybe 2 days, and he just because he can't disassociate him with being at home. It's all about play, having fun, and if it is learning, it's all very quick and whatnot. And he couldn't disassociate that to school, so I was like, So the school opened up to have what they call vulnerable children go back 3 half days or 4 days, and we just put him in half day every day, and he goes back full time on Tuesday. I think Monday's a curriculum day. Mate, sit down. I had a little desk set up, his laptop, his chair, and you're like, this is awesome. This is going to work. 8 minutes in, this is not going to work. And you go like, do I call the teacher? Do I freak out? Should I cry? I don't know what's going on.
Should I have a drink at 10 a.m. or what should I do?
It was like that bottle of scotch that I haven't opened in 20 years is looking real good, And things like I love having my boy at home as often as I do, and having my wife here as well. But being a drummer, I actually don't have a full-time place I can just close the door and play for hours without annoying somebody else. So my wife's been home literally because she works for government. She's been home before it really kind of got bad. So all my drum gear is just in the home theatre here. It's open plan, and her desk is right next to mine. Mate, you hit a floor tom, and it's just like migraine kind of thing going on. So we've been toying with, do we just gut that room and build a room and double plaster and isolate everything, and then I actually caught up with Troy Gretsch the other night from Into Drums, talked about some ideas, and then it just came down to, unfortunately, with some of the house problems we've got, spending 10 grand on a room, which most likely will be demolished. Could be next week, could be next year. It's 10 grand. Even if they rebuilt that section of the house, they won't do that.
No, you won't get it. You won't get
it back.
Yeah.
So I'm in a spot where I'm I can't actually play at home.
Yeah.
I'm playing on an acoustic kit with mesh heads, which is still keeps a muscle memory going, keeps that going and whatnot. But yeah, that kind of hit me hard. Like I'm not like, well, I miss the gigs, I miss the interaction with adults, but I actually physically miss playing on a kit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like just on that for so many years I haven't been able to play a kit at home where we live.
well,
This is the first time.
You look in the background. What you've got set up now, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I've got the kit. This is a Rogers kit.
I can see it. Yeah.
I bought this off. I bought this off Watto like about 12 years ago, I reckon.
How he's another guy. You see him, you go, can I just give you a hug? You know,
he's a badass. He's a player.
And he's a sweetheart and a killer player.
Absolutely. But he was doing some renos and he was selling one of his kits. And it's this Rogers kit and it's got quite a lot of single-headed toms. There's some over here, some around there. He's got these concert toms, basically.
Yeah.
Like an 8, 10, 13, 14, 2 14s and a 16. But I've just got set up rack and floor at the moment. But awesome. They sound awesome with the clear CS black dot heads on them.
Black dots.
Sound awesome. So that's set up here at the moment. But yeah, this is for the first time I'm able to play like a real drum kit. In the past, I've had pads. I've had I can't remember the brand, but it was that kind of had metal stands with the white pads, and you sort of made a drum kit out of it.
Wasn't the DW?
Yeah, the DW one.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool. But after a while, I ended up not being able to screw it tight enough, and just kept sort of just played it too much, I think, over the years. We just really missed playing a real drum kit. In the house that was easy to get to. So built a semi-sound. It's pretty soundproof. Like I can play in here at night after the kids go to bed. Yeah. And from their room, it'd just sound like a distant stereo on low or something.
Yeah. Which is
it's sort of like it's more the kick drum that sort of reverberates a bit through the house, but it's not too bad. Excuse me. And I've done a couple of rehearsals here with a couple of bands. And I've got them to play guitar and bass and keys, and I've gone out the front onto the street, and you can barely hear them. So, it's really nice. So it's all new to me, being able to have this, in my own house. So it's really good.
There's no real replacement for an acoustic kit. There's even when you've got the mesh heads. I mean, they're a great idea, and it definitely helps, but. When you're on a physical acoustic kit at full volume, that's where you develop in your sound and your feel and your touch, to pull the sound out of your drums. Like I've been practicing I've got a PDP kit 12, 14, 20, and with mesh heads just to work out ideas. And what I find about anything like that, like a practice pad kit or electronic kit, it makes you sound phenomenal. Everything sounds even. Everything sounds amazing because the feel is consistent. Until you hit like a 10 or a 12 to a 14, you don't have that. I actually got behind the acoustic kit the other day after spending 2 weeks on the mesh kit, like kind of setup, and I hit the 14, and it was like, wow, that actually was slightly uncomfortable because I wasn't used to it being so hard. And I was like, it took me half an hour to just get the feel of it, and then within a half an hour later, I had to stop.
Less bounce, well, right?
Yeah.
On a real one.
Yeah, a lot less bounce, especially on the bass drum. If the bass drum was just like hitting a solid just wall, whereas on the mesh head, the mesh kit, it's just like you've got that trampoline effect. But the noise we're talking that makes no closing just a normal door, standard bedroom, and you could barely hear it.
It's kind of dangerous because you end up practicing really loud and you get to a drum kit. You're like, whoa, it's really loud.
Yeah. Like I have to admit, I'm not a meat axe, so I don't really slam on the drums. But my mate Steve is a bass player I've been playing with for 24 or 5 years. He says you've got a 1-inch punch on your snare drum, so you play It's like you played really low. Like you look at it, you go, I played really low, but the volume that comes out of your snare drum is just like horrendous. You know, it's like, oh, okay, all right, I better work on that. And it's like I remember turning out to a gig, and I have from like 2009 or 2000, a 14 by 5 DW cast bronze snare drum, and the sound guy in this massive venue
loud.
he had it turned off, like, and it was still too loud. And Steve was like, "You're not even you're barely hitting it. Like, what's going on?" And it's just like, oh, I'm not even raising the stick that high, but it's that last inch is like, but you know. Yeah. So, and that's the thing I found with this. I got on the acoustic kit, and I'm like, yeah, this is great, you know. The like crap out of it for no reason. Like, yeah, I'm just playing drums now, but and that's what I'm saying. It took half an hour to kind of go, what's wrong? This doesn't feel right, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm very I'm very envious of you.
I'm feeling quite lucky having this room. So it's a little bit more soundproofing to do, but it's pretty close. So yeah, it's good. But just been trying to do a little bit of recording with a couple of guys too, and that kind of area recordings is quite new to me. I've never really explored it properly. So,
and you think you've been in the studio probably a million times, and
you
don't think about it, you know.
Oh, I kind of wish, you know, like I paid a lot more attention now, but you know, the thing about it is when you're in a good studio and you've got a good engineer, they're doing a great job because they know how to do that, and then you're focusing on the music with the banner, and you put your trust in them because they know what to do. But
and then you ask questions like, how does compression work? You know?
Yeah. So I'm having some fun, like learning about a lot of stuff now. You know, between the mics and the mixer and the audio program in the computer. So trying to navigate that whole world is a little bit daunting, but kind of fun at the same time.
Yeah, it's. I have to admit, I'm waiting on something. Hopefully, it arrives. I hope it arrives this week. Like as we're talking about, like going from, you know, your studios you go to, and they've got these 32 or 72 or 3,000 channel desk, and it's the whole EQ strip and big patch bays and whatever. And now you can buy just like a little 8-channel interface with faders, and everything's digital, and everything's done on the computer. You know, like, where are the preamps? Yeah. Oh, they're in the desk. Oh, okay. Where's the patch bay? It's in the desk. It's like, all right. So where's the stereo taping? It's in the desk. And like, I don't get this, you know. But even when you think back 20 years ago, if you wanted 20 ins and outs, like through a Mac or whatever, and you had to buy a thing called the Paris setup, which was like 40 grand with all the sound cards and whatever. And now it comes in a tiny little box, you know, like this.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going through tutorials on YouTube, like, watch this, and it's like 4 hours long on how to turn it on, set up an input, you know.
I mean, it's quite amazing where it's got to, but I still love the classic, the units, the rack unit modules that, you know, that go in the rack, where it's just got, you've got this tower.
The Weckles.
I love that.
The fringes.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. Like, all the lights, like, it lights up like a 747 cockpit, you know, like there's something about it. And you got toggles and switches and knobs, and I love all that stuff.
Yeah. I did before it closed, a session at Metropolis, and they're like, do you want to come in, you know, do some tracks or whatever? And they're like, oh, I'm not feeling that setup on the bass drum, so I'm just going to try a couple of different preamps or whatever. I'm like, okay. And you see them just randomly unplugging, you know, and VU meters and lights going off and whatever. You're there going, this is brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
I can't ask any questions because I'm not being paid to, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting down the other night going, I feel like it's like anything, like as soon as you start something new, you have to accept that you're going to be crap at it. You know, that learning curve is, you have to get used to it. And sitting down looking at a 32-channel digital desk, and I'm literally that guy going, what does that button do?
Yeah.
I know I can plug everything in, but now it's like, so where's the EQ? Oh, it's here. It's in this big screen in front of you with all these knobs. Like, shouldn't it be in the channel, you know? And it's just, yeah.
Crazy.
and then having like, and you must admit, when you're a drummer and you're recording drums on your own with no help, it's like it takes 800 times longer, because
Oh yeah.
you listen back, you go, oh, maybe I might move that bass drum mic over a quarter inch. And then you listen to it again, oh, come back again, you know, and then, oh, that tom's now a bit out, you know, so.
Well, you don't have someone doing the subtle adjustments while you're playing, you know, that you don't have that person in the control room while you're playing away, do it.
And then telling somebody else in the room, going, hey, man, can you just move that overhead over
Move
half
that,
an inch?
yeah. That's the whole battling with this exact thing today, trying to record one song and just spending so long recording something, listening back, and then trying to work out what was wrong and which mic it was, or was it something wrong I was doing on the desk, or is it where I got the mic? Is it the input level here or whatever? So, and
then you know what? And then someone says, you know what? We're going to change bass drums, and then you take them, and then the 5 mics and bass drums come back. I had that. I do some stuff with SAE every so often, do, you know, some for students and whatnot. Go in, we try and replicate certain sounds from albums. Or haven't done any Cat Empire yet, which is great, because I reckon I can't play that well for that kind of groove. You've got that hands down. I'm not even going to try and imitate it. We were playing. It had a 22-inch bass drum, and it had and I'm like, oh, it's more of a vintage sound. So I've got a 20 in the car. So it's spent half an hour just getting these 3 mics kind of distanced out for the bass drum kind of all lined up. And it's like just bringing in one different drum was like, oh, now the toms aren't right. You know, they're not working together. And we're going to try different overhead setup. We're going to do a split, you know. Oh, okay, we're going to try a different room mic. And then, so it was another like an hour. And I only had enough time to do 2 takes. And it worked out fine. It was the right decision. But, you know, and so you take that idea where you've got one guy in the control room, you've got the assistant, and then you've got a guy in the room and you moving things around as you're playing to get the ultimate sound. And here's you, just like me, on your own, you know. I couldn't imagine trying to tell my wife, like, tell me how it sounds through the monitors, and then if the bass drum mic should move in or out, or, you know, on its axis a little bit more, you know, it's like, it sounds like a bass drum, you know. It sounds like a bass drum. So
don't go there.
It's like, you know, can't win, don't try. So what's planned now? So until, you know, it all kind of starts up again, what are you going to do? Like, what's the future hold?
So looks like we want to do Blues Fest next year. I think what's going to happen is that, you know, gigs in Australia will come back first, obviously, before international gigs. And I'm not sure how long it'll be before we're allowed to go overseas, or when bands are allowed to come to Australia. But I think it's actually a really good opportunity for Australian music to do something, to go, okay, well, there's no international things happening at the moment. If we've got a festival and we're allowed to run a festival, we can have 100% all Australian lineup at the festival. So I think it's a really good opportunity for Australian bands. So we're waiting for the call to go, okay, you're allowed to go and do a gig, I suppose. So anyone, I don't know how long that's going to be, but it's, you know, we're just on the back burner at the moment, just simmering away. You know, people are just doing what they can. We're trying to record a few things and put them together in that Brady Bunch style online. And
I've had those 20-person Zoom meetings where you're trying to organise stuff and chat about stuff. You're sitting there going, who's talking next? What's going on? Do you? I mean, I don't really talk a lot about religion and politics on these things, because it's just a chance to just, you know, I'm not a very religious person. I'm not a very political person. I studied politics all through high school. But do you? I mean, just a random question. Do you think the Australian government, or at some point, should help the Australian music scene? Because you have to kind of admit, seeing a lot of my muso friends are really suffering. I know. And it's affecting them like in every way. So
it's interesting. It's a really hard one. Like you look at something like the bushfires happening, right?
Yeah, I know where you're going to go with this, and
Yeah, you know, the devastation of people, but that's another level because people lose lives and people lose their homes. So that's pretty full on. But, you know, where do people look to kind of to get their spirits back? You know,
music. It's music.
It's music.
It's music.
And so you get all those, you know, concerts and stuff, benefit relief concerts and stuff. And
Yeah.
when the music industry goes down, well, what do you do to help lift the spirits of the music? You know, the musicians. Well, no, we are the people who play the music. So how does that work? So
Yeah,
it's a good question. I don't know because there's always that grey area. It's like, okay, well, you could help musicians, but it's the whole entertainment industry. It's comedians, you know, it's theatres, it's plays.
It's the guy holding the boom mic. You know,
it's the whole hospitality
everything.
industry. It's any industry that relies on having a crowd of people to do their gig. So that's just musicians are only one part of that. So I don't know. I don't envy the politician's position at the moment. I think it's a bloody tough job. So I don't know.
It's my brother is he was a former provost at Ghana University. So he's got a PhD in political science, international political sciences. So he with politics is brilliant, and we don't get into those big deep discussions about, you know, who's better and who's not. It's like, you know, I asked him one night, I said, what do you think, you know, of you know, the whole, you know, the job seeker, job keeper program? I mean, that's a mess. But, you know, how do you think it should benefit the entertainment, you know, industry? He goes, it should benefit everybody. Everybody's in the same ocean, but we're in different boats.
Yeah.
So, and like, just the other day, I had a friend of mine call up. He just wanted someone to talk to because I've got no money. No one's helping me out. I don't know what to do. And I was like, have you got a mic at home and just an iPhone? He goes, yeah, I do. I said, mate, just jump on Facebook, do a live thing for tips. You know, do anything, do something, even just to keep you moving forward, like get your brain stop from ticking over, that kind of stuff. And a couple of days later, I said, how'd you go? He goes, mate, I paid rent. Like I did 4 days, I was able to pay rent, which means that's one less bill. I went, man, then just do it once a day or 3 times a week or whatever. If it's only a couple of $100, you know, anything helps, you know. So, I mean, I jump on live feeds and you know, tip people to play, just to give them tips to say, you know, I've been watching you for an hour. It's great. You know, I loved it. And throwing Wired for Sound by Cliff Richard, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I don't know it, but if you come back tomorrow, I'll learn it. And he did, and he's like, I gave him $25. He said, mate, that's perfect. That's great. Thank you so much. So, well, mate, it's been a privilege. It's been an honour to have you on board. I've been a fan for such a long time.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Richie. Like, it's been fun. Just chatting.
It's just, mate, I'm not serious. These things are not serious. And when they become serious, it's like, let's get away from this pretty quickly. It's you know, like my dog. Like, you know, my dog.
Your dog keeps the light. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Papa, come on, sweetie. She's daddy's little girl. She sleeps under the doona and behind my legs every night. It's dinner time for them. So
she doesn't ever jump in the bass drum, and then you go and play, and she gets flying.
But I had my bass drum case open one day, and I got to a gig, and you know, you take it out, and I turned it on its side, and I just heard all this noise. I'm like, thinking lugs broken, what's going on, and it was that horrible noise. I'm like, so here I am doing this gig in front of a couple of thousand people. I'm thinking, I might not have the evil thoughts like, my bass drum's broken, it's cracked, what's going on? And Boston had been maybe mobile, like walking for maybe a month or two, had filled my entire bass drum with toys. And I'm like taking the head off, and it's just literally completely filled. And I'm like, I got nowhere to put these.
That's the sound. That's the
sound. mate. And we put the legs out, put it down, put the bass drum mic in it, and it was like completely dead. Sound guy's gone. Sounds great. It's like great because
Yeah, exactly.
I can't be bothered taking
it's no long note I have to deal with. It's nice and short. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't have to deal with that weird overtone if you're playing off the head like you usually do. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I don't have the. She has stowed away in my car before. Like I had the
Wow.
door, I had the door open, loading it up. She's jumped in, thinking, "Oh, we're going to go somewhere." She hates the car though, but wants to go somewhere. So I've loaded the car up, closed the door, driven to the city, right, and I just see this little white head pop up. I'm like, I have freaked out in the car, pulled over, and she's all excited. I've had to ring my wife and go, "Do you know where Piper is?" And she's like, "I have no idea. I thought she was in the bedroom, like just having a sleep, and she's in my car." Like, I'm at the gig. I'm actually in the city about to do it, like unload the car. So here's Piper walking in and out with me to this venue, because she didn't want to leave me alone. She was too scared to leave me alone. And yeah, she got picked up at like 11:30 at night because by the time Tara got out there, we already started. So yeah, and she was asleep in the car in the front seat. Just out of
Great companion.
Yeah. What are you doing? Looking for food? I'll feed you soon. So, mate, thank you so much for spending a couple of hours or an hour with me. I appreciate it, and I really want to come see you play live. So if not, even pop down and have a hang. You can make me some sourdough.
Let's do that. Yeah, we'll hit some skins.
I'll bring some coffee.
Yeah, I've dusted off the double pedal, by the way, so you can show me a few things so I can practice.
I don't think I'll show you anything. I don't think I can show you anything useful.
I think you probably could. Trust me, I haven't played a double kick in a long time. I've suddenly been inspired.
So actually, that's one quick question. What kind of drums do you like to play?
Oh, geez. I mean, anything. Look, I suppose I grew up in the house listening to whatever my older brother and sister were playing. So anything from the Police to Led Zeppelin to the Doors to Pink Floyd, Creedence, Dire Straits.
Nice.
And then high school, it was all like the 90s grunge scene from Seattle, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, same.
Got heaps into Metallica and Pantera a bit and stuff, and I played in this Metallica cover band a bit in high school. Was set up
Guns N' Roses for me.
We played a school concert and had a smoke machine and stuff. I like playing lots of stuff, but I just found the double pedal when I was cleaning out, and I was like, man, yeah, this will be fun. I'm going to try and have a go again. So, it's hard work. It's hard work.
It's a blast when you realise your left foot has to do consistent, 8th or 16th note subdivisions on the upbeat. Like I'm used to, and this is from Darren, I used to count time. It's just a force of habit. Like I can't stop doing it. It's one of those idiosyncrasies, just subconscious things that I play the left foot on every upbeat. Like just from
like off the hi-hat or on the foot of the hi-hat?
On the foot of the hi-hat. So if I'm playing every, like Jesse Skill, it's the 8th note pulse, I'm playing on every end with the hi-hat on the upbeat.
Oh, wow.
So it's just the jazz. So I'm just playing the foot, my left foot's always going, because it's usually on the upbeat, not the downbeat.
Hang on, okay. So I thought originally you were saying you were doing it like if you were playing something, you were doing every second 16th note with the left.
Oh no, I do that if I'm doing jazz, I'm doing swing. So if I'm doing
so you're doing double the normal.
I'll do that as well. Like just, I got that from Steve Haas from the States. He's like, yeah, try this exercise. Now I can't stop doing it. So if I'm playing a swing, everyone's waiting for that 1, 2, 3, 4, and the people, like the bass player's like,
that's right.
Looks over your foot going, what are you doing? But yeah, from Darren days, I can't stop doing the 8th note, the end pulse of my left foot. I just can't stop doing it.
which is not a bad thing for when you're playing double kick.
It's not a bad thing, but then I think the only exercise I will say to you, which is a good one for double kick, if you want to get back in that whole, working your limberness out, is inverted double strokes on your feet. So
yeah, that's a Virgil style.
Yeah, and it's really, I kind of sat down the other week and went, oh man, feet are sloppy, they're not tight, So I went back through I had a lesson with Virgil back like 20 something years ago. First thing was like limberness. And he said it was just inverted double strokes in the foot. Of course he does them, but it was enough to go, da, 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 and I could just get it enough where it starts to kind of get the blood flowing in your legs a bit. But feet, I find feet are one of those things that you literally have to do it every day. It's like a workout. Yeah. If you miss a day, you go back to,
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right, well, I know I've taken a bit of your time, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll probably be in touch with you. Oh, mate, absolutely. Definitely be in touch. Cool, man. Thank you so much.
Go and pat your dog for me.
I will. I don't know where the other one is. He's around somewhere. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much. Thanks, brother. Thank you.
Bye.